All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also, want to acknowledge Alakim, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And this is Shabai from the GMS Denver. I'm going to go in on everything that's in the news right now, because obviously United States attacked, like it says here, 3 nuclear sites in Iran. And then I'm gonna play a quick short video and then pull out some precepts and go from there. But things are heating up for sure, and everything that the scriptures speak of, everything that the Most High Yahweh has declared is coming to fruition. It's coming to pass, just in the fashion that it was written in the scripture. Let me get this real quick. All right, it tells you in the scriptures that we have a more sure word of prophecy, right? And that's exactly what it is. Let me grab that real quick. Revelation 22:6. It says, And he said unto me, these things are faithful and true. And Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, the Most High of the Holy Prophets, sent his angel to show unto his servants the things which must shortly be done. Behold, this is Yahushai speaking, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. So everything that you see in the news, everything that's happening is literally, it's according to prophecy. Okay. Let's get 2nd Ezra real quick. Let's see, 2nd Ezra is 8. Let me see. Or Salakia, I'm way off. Let me see. Ecclesiasticus 39:1. It reads, But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient and be occupied in prophecies. All right. So that's what we do here at GMS. We're occupied in prophecy. We measure the time diligently. That's what I was throwing off. That threw me off. Let me see. 2nd Ezra 8:1. Let's see. 8. 2nd Ezra 9:1. It reads, He answered me and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself. When thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. All right, so we're seeing all these things happen, including, and I'm going to grab it in a second, rumors of wars, earthquakes, uproars of the people. Last week, I'm in Broomfield, Colorado, And we had an earthquake out here. You know, I didn't feel it, but there were people here in my household that they said they felt it. But the thing is all these prophecies are coming to pass exactly the way the scriptures and Yahweh has declared it. And he's visiting all these things that's happening on the planet Earth right now. The uproars of the people. You just had those protests that were happening all over, the No Kings protest. You know, that's an uproar of the people. And this is all the spirit of Yahweh visiting the earth. Because this place is almost done here. You know? Let me grab Matthew real quick. And I'm going to play that video that I have on deck right now. But let's see here. Let me see. I'm going to read Matthew 24:6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows." All right, so we're in the beginning of sorrows. All right? And there's things I want to point out here. You know, it says there's going to be rumors of wars, and you know, that's exactly what you're seeing. You're actually seeing acts of war happening. It's not just rumors right now, right? You know, we haven't got to the point of the end all be all, the all out nuclear World War III, but you know, it's it's heating up, to say the least. All right. There's still, you know, what we here at Great Millstone, we always point out, the prophecies are all going to happen. You know, that we read it in Revelation, they're faithful and true. That's what that means, that these prophecies are faithful and they're truly going to happen. But they all also are going to happen in the order that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai has set them up or ordained them to happen. All right, so let's get 1 Corinthians 14:40. It says, "Let all things be done decently and in order." And we read in Matthew 24, you know, the rumors of wars. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." Because even though we're, you know, in the early stages of World War III, you know, the ultimate end-all be-all isn't going to happen until we still have that prophecy, that major prophecy, which is the the micro-C-hip, also known as the mark of the beast. Okay, so, you know, you people who are, you know, listening to the prophets, and you're not in the know, but you're listening to these videos, you're listening to the lessons. We're here to tell you that these prophecies, not only are they faithful and true, they're going to happen in order, in the way that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has ordained them to happen. And really Yahweh, because it tells you Yahweh Shai doesn't even know the day or the hour, right? But you know, we know that once the point I'm making is once the micro-C-hip, the MOTB, right, Revelation 13 and 16, once that comes to pass, then that's when you want to hold on to your seat, because then you know that World War III is gonna is going to happen in full force with the ultimate destruction, the end all, be all. All right, let me grab Revelation 13 and 16, and it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hands or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. All right, so that's that prophecy that's going to happen prior to the great destruction that is coming to Babylon, America. Everything has, we read it in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, everything's going to happen decent. Let all things happen decently and in order. Okay? That's why when we read, I'll make that point again, in Matthew 24 and 6, you shall hear wars, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, see that ye be not troubled. Because we know we're still waiting on that other major prophecy. And then once that prophecy is mandated on the planet Earth, right? Let's get it. Revelation 3 and 10. 3 and 10, it says, "Because thou," this is Yahweh Shai speaking, "because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth." And that's that MOTB. That's the hour of temptation. When your back is against the wall, when you're being, you have a choice to go into a concentration camp, a prison, jail, or take the MOTB, take that wicked device. When you're in that situation, that's literally the hour of temptation. And this is what's going to come upon. This is basically the next major prophecy we're waiting on. Once this thing is mandated, the MOTB, hey, then, especially if you're not in the fold of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, then you need to be concerned, because you have no salvation. Okay? Salvation is only for the elect of Israel. Not even all of Israel is going to receive salvation. Okay? 2/3 of our own people are gonna die in, these events that are leading up to World War III. And let me grab that and like we've, literally major things are happening right now. You have these countries, they would be considered, because mountain is a metaphor for governments, right? And you have basically these hills, which they're high impact nations, which I'm speaking of Israel and Iran. They've had this conflict, which is escalating, and obviously, it's drawing the major superpowers where they're about to engage, and it's getting crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's getting crazy. If you're not in the fold of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, I mean, you're as good as dead, really. 100%. That's why it's so important to, be occupied in prophecy, occupied in the scriptures, doing the things that are necessary for salvation. And I speak to Israelites when I say this, because you heathen, the 2/3 of our people that don't, they don't believe this knowledge, this truth, this wisdom, this is not for you. Matter of fact, if you're outside of the hopeful elect, there's really no need for you to finish watching this video, because it's not for you. You don't believe these prophecies, you don't believe the Bible, you might as well just turn the video off and go do something productive while you can. This is Revelation 11:14. It says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And this is talking, a woe represents destruction. It represents the second woe, representing World War III. The third woe cometh quickly, representing World War II is the second woe. Behold, the third woe cometh quickly, which that represents World War III, which is going to be the end-all be-all, because World War III is going to be fought with nuclear fire. Okay? And this is literally what time we're in, you know? We're measuring the time diligently. We're looking at the news events, and it's you know, it's you have to be a fool, which literally you are a fool, because fool means a non-believer. You don't believe in the prophecies. You see? And that's foolish to think that, you know, the prophecies are not going to come to pass when you see the state of the earth. You see the state of planet Earth and all the conflicts and adversity and you know, all the signs of the end are showing themselves, you know. Habakkuk 2. And 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, meaning the vision of the end. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Okay? So these end time prophecies are, you know, we're in that appointed time. You know? Esau, Edom, these other nations, they have nuclear power. Isaiah 54:16, it says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth in the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. Okay, that's why what I said earlier about, if you're not in the fold of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, if you're not part of the elect, if you don't have faith, well, first of all, you got to be an Israelite, a so-called black, Latino, or Native American. You know, if you're not part of the hopeful elect out of the tribes of Israel, then you're basically in for it's just doom, right? They call us, matter of fact, Donald Trump, he's called us the prophets of doom. And, you know, a lot of people don't want to hear it, but hey, it's prophecy and it's coming to pass. This earth is fucking wicked as hell, man. Everything about this place is just gotta go. You know? From the food to the people to the you know, just the state of this place. Everything is a vexation of spirit. When you you know, when you're in this knowledge and this truth, things are vexing. This world is a vexation of spirit. And really, we have to remember that all this trauma and this conflict and, you know, things that are occurring, that are happening on the earth, it's all for the best. It's all for the best, because it's for the elect's sake. The Most High is going to destroy the powers that be, those wicked governments, namely Esau, Edom, you know, the Babylonian Empire here in America. It's for our own good, you know. Every empire has an expiration date, and America is no different. It says here in Isaiah 54:17, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahweh. Right? So this is not something that we just came up with on our own. And I'm talking about the servants, the Lord's prophets, his true prophets. This is not something we came up on our own, nor is this something that we take credit for, to know the prophecies, to know, basically, prophecy is dealing with future events and calling. The word prophecy, it means to say before, as in say before something happens, right? We're saying it before, and it's because the Holy Spirit's dealing with us and gives us, we know the next move when it comes to all these news events. We've been calling it before it happens, and it's all through the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit being the scriptures. Let me grab this real quick, and then I'm going to play that video, and I'm going to bring out a few more precepts. Let's go to Isaiah 46 and 10. It says, I'll start at 9. It says, "Remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure." So these scriptures have been written in ancient times, and Yahweh has inspired his prophets, who are holy men, to document, the prophecies. And he declared the end from the beginning. And we know his counsel is definitely going to stand. It has in times past, and it's going to stand in these times that are unraveling or unfolding. There's no way around biblical prophecy. There's no way around what Yahweh has ordained. Okay? There's no way around it. And the ones who know this better than anybody are his servants, the prophets. That's why he puts a spirit on us to get on these lessons, get on the internet and teach. You see? These prophecies are plain and clear to us. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and play about a minute and a half of this video. And this is all fair use. I want to, give the disclaimer. Oh, shoot. What happened here? The video I wanted to show is not... Okay, here we go. So fair use. This is not I'm not making no money off this video, okay?
Pastor joining us live from Washington, D.C.
I'm going to go ahead and play this. Again, fair use disclaimer. I'm not making money off this video. It's strictly for educational purposes, okay?
See what the latest after an early morning press conference. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Taylor. During the Pentagon's briefing this morning, we learned last night's attack was called Operation Midnight Hammer, and the element of surprise was key. You had President Trump saying publicly that he was going to decide within 2 weeks on whether to strike. Then several B-2 bombers flew over the Pacific yesterday morning as decoys while the strike team was headed towards Iran. A wave of missiles targeting Israel, retaliation from Iran for American strikes on its nuclear facilities.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Using bunker buster bombs and Tomahawk missiles, U.S. military forces struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites, including one buried deep inside a mountain.
Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
My country has been under attack, under aggression, and we have to respond.
President Trump warned of more attacks if Tehran does not negotiate a peace deal.
We will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
The president monitored the strikes from the Situation Room alongside Vice President J.D. Vance and senior advisors. In Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised President Trump's decision.
President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength.
But there are fears this could spark a broader regional war, and some lawmakers are questioning the president's authority to order the strikes.
The only entity that can take this country to war is the U.S. Congress.
Fox has told the White House did give congressional leaders a courtesy heads up before the strike. Taylor.
And we know the president keeps talking about negotiating a nuclear deal with Iran. Does this attack hurt or help that cause?
Well,
So, all right, you got to see that video. That was the major points I wanted to bring out. But hey, like I said earlier in the video, these things are heating up, and you saw that dude Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israel Prime Minister. You know, even that's prophecy with him, because I was saying it earlier. You know, basically you have that conflict between Israel and Iran. Israel had been, you know, firing missiles at them like a week and a half ago, and even that's prophecy. You know, because you have to understand, Iran is backed by Russia, which is Gog in the scriptures, G-O-G, and Israel, the fake Israel, you know, the Amalekites. That's who they truly are, because we're the Israelites. Those are not the Israelites, the ones that they call Israelis, right? The Bible speaks about Israelites, not Israelis. So but the point being is, you basically have two little brothers and two big brothers. The two little brothers being Israel and Iran. And they have a conflict, but basically they're going to drag the big brothers, which I said it earlier. Governments are likened unto mountains, and those smaller governments are likened unto hills. And those two little brothers, which are, you know, the smaller governments, Israel and Iran, are their conflict is gonna be, and because you know when we read the prophecies, we knew things were going to happen, but now we can see pretty much exactly how it's going to happen. We can see the dynamic of how the Lord's going to bring forth World War III, right? Let's go to Jeremiah real quick, and dealing with what's his name, Benjamin Netanyahu or whatever. We call him Benjamin, not a Jew, because those are not the Jews of the Bible. That's not the tribe of Judah. That's a whole nother lesson. But we're going to go to Jeremiah 50 and verse 45. It says, "Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh, that he hath taken against Babylon," which Babylon is America, "and his purposes, that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans." It's also America. Chaldeans dealing with sorcerers and witchcraft. America is the land of sorcerers and witchcraft, okay? Whether you're able to receive that or not. It says, "Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations." Okay? So what's that noise that's going to move the earth? It's going to be those nuclear missiles. And the least of the flock that's going to draw them out are those fake small hats, we call them. We got to use code words. I shouldn't even have been really saying JEW because they're liable to cut my video. But the thing is this is the least of the flock, right? And you saw Netanyahu praising Trump for those strikes, you know, those two are like, well, they're bringing forth, well, it's the spirit of Yahweh that's bringing forth this end. But let me grab this real quick. 21:1 Proverbs. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the king in this place, in this case, is, would be these prime ministers and presidents, right? Because that's why they call it No Kings Movement last couple weeks ago or last week. But the thing is modern day kings, there still are kings in certain nations, but the modern day kings are your presidents and your prime ministers. And I'm telling you right here in this verse that his heart, meaning his mind, like we always tell you, heart is mind, but it's in the hand of Yahweh. So those two men, Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm not pronouncing his name right, but him and Donald Trump, they basically, it's not their will to do the things that is happening that you see in the news. It's the will of the Most High. And he's putting the spirit on these kings or these leaders of these nations to do his pleasure, right? Because it is going to be a pleasurable thing, and Yahweh is going to, like, even the aroma of the dead bodies burning, it's going to be pleasing to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because he knows, and we know, his servants, we know that this is the end of a wicked age. Esau's Edom, his kingdom, his empire is coming to a halt. And, I'm bringing out all these scriptures just to support what we're saying, because we measure the time diligently, like we read in Esdras, 2nd Esdras 9. You got to measure the time diligently to know what time in history or what time in, we're in. And I have to grab this out too, because it lines up with the arrogance and the pride that you saw Donald Trump when he was speaking about how he had a precise whatever they called it, what do they call it, Operation Midnight Hammer or something like that, which when they striked those nuclear bases in Iran, or their nuclear, he said that they obliterated it, but I saw reports saying that they didn't really even do nothing to it. There was that basically those strikes that Trump commanded from the Situation Room, like they had mentioned in that clip I showed. The Situation Room is literally a room in the West Wing. I just pulled it up. Let me see. Of the White House. That's why you saw Trump and J.D. Vance. They were in the Situation Room, basically watching everything go down, But the thing is these devils are, they're doing what Yahweh has created them to do. The so-called white man is he's the son of perdition. Which perdition is destruction. That's his MO, and it's because Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai has made him that way. He's a destroyer of worlds. That's the quote that Oppenheimer, the guy who basically developed. He was like the chief scientist that developed the nuclear war after he created the atomic bomb, which they used, I think it was like 1946 or something, on Japan. And that Oppenheimer made that quote, I've become the destroyer of worlds, or something like that. Brothers know what I'm talking about, but it's because this Edomite, the so-called white man, he is the son of perdition, the son of destruction. And I'm going to read Obadiah 1 and I'm going to stop at 4, but it says, the vision of Obadiah, the prophet Obadiah, he says, thus saith Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the Most High, concerning Edom. And Edom is dealing with Babylon, America. And the Russians are Edomites too, but let me keep reading. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. And Iran is a heathen nation too. Those are not Israelites. Anybody who's outside of the tribes of Israel are considered heathen. So, Esau Edom he's been made small among the heathen and greatly despised. They hate the Edomites. Those other heathen nations, they despise the Edomites. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, meaning the pride of his mind. You saw how Trump was talking, how he was bragging how they carried out that Operation Midnight Hammer. I think that's what they called it. But that was those strikes on the nuclear facilities of Iran. But he was bragging about it, right, in the press. And the thing is we read that verse, the least of the flock shall draw them out. It all starts with that imposter state or country, Israel. The United States is basically backing Israel, and again, Russia is going to be backing Iran, and that's why it says the least of the flock will draw them out. Draw them out to what? Draw them out to World War III. Like I said earlier, we knew the prophecies. We didn't know exactly how it would play out or what would the dynamic be. But now that these things are unfolding, we can see exactly how these prophecies are going to come to pass when we're getting closer. You heathen are through. The heathen are done. The 2/3, the heathen, you're through. The only ones who have hope are the hopeful elect. That's why we call ourselves the hopeful elect, because we're the only ones on the planet Earth that have hope. Because when all these missiles get fired, we're going to get a strange salvation according to the Bible. And that strange salvation is dealing with the Lord's chosen. That word elect means chosen, eklektos in the Greek. We're going to have a strange salvation and go up in what you call a UFO, a chariot, during these, right before everything is destroyed. At the last moment, the elect is going to be saved by those chariots. But it says, the pride, Obadiah 1 and 3, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. All right, and the pride of Esau, you see it. You saw how Trump was talking, bragging about how his military forces destroyed the nuclear, those 3 nuclear sites in Iran. The thing is I've heard conflicting reports, because you had Trump saying that it's all been obliterated, but I saw also a video that was saying that he barely did any damage. I mean, he did damage, but it wasn't like the heart of their nuclear capabilities are still there. They're still a threat. Matter of fact, you know, if you're in a fight and somebody swings at you and punches you in the mouth, majority of people are going to swing back. That's the kind of like your natural instinct. So what do you think these Iranians are going to do? And they're meeting with Russia, you know, here in the next ASAP, really, from all the reports I watched. That's so we see this thing picking up. We see these prophecies heating up. We see Babylon America and Russia. They're about to be involved. And this is because why? The pride of Esau. You saw how he was speaking in that press conference. I mean, he didn't have no remorse, or of course not, right? We don't expect him to, but he's prideful and arrogant, and even with the fact that knowing, because they have to know that the Russians, which is Gog in the Bible, G-O-G, the Chinese, which are the Moabites, North Koreans, they all have nuclear power, and they're going to burn the whore. And even the men of thy confederacy. Let's grab that real quick. Verse 7, Obadiah 1 and 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. So even the allies of the United States, when this thing gets full force manifested, World War III, you know, when it gets to the peak of World War III, even the men of that confederacy, meaning your allies, America's allies, are going to be shooting missiles at this place. Let's hit this real quick. Revelation 17 and 16, it says, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For the Most High Yahweh hath put in their hearts, their minds, to fulfill his will. Remember, his will is to destroy Babylon America, because this place is the land of the Chaldeans, which is witchcraft and sorcery. This place is, they call it a nation under God, but that's a deception. And the only people who believe that bullshit are the ones who don't know nothing about the scriptures. Because you actually think Donald Trump, because you know they're wicked and deceiving. Because even after he had made all his statements, he went on and said, God bless America, God bless this, God bless that. And you idiots out there who are not in this knowledge and this truth, you've been deceived. You don't understand that he's a goddamn devil. You don't see it, because you're also deceived by you're given into a strong delusion, as it tells you in 2 Thessalonians. You think, like I was reading comments of the different videos, news videos that I was watching regarding these attacks on Iran. And you have it's divided. You see in the comments, you'll see people who have some type of common sense saying, "Oh shit, we're fucked now." Now the Iranians, they can counter attack at any moment. Now they're going to meet with President Putin as we speak. The Russian president. So whatever plan they come up with, that's what they're going to do. So these things are going to pick up. But don't forget, that micro C-hip has to come to pass first before the total destruction comes. But it's all playing out, you know, and it's all playing out the way Yahweh has ordained it. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to Psalms 10. And I'll close out on this. Psalms 10 and 5. It says, let me start at Alright, I'll start at 1. It says, Psalms 10 and 1, Why standest thou afar off, O Yahweh? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. Right? And that's what Esau Edom, who is the wicked, he's got so much pride, he persecutes, and the poor is dealing with the Israelites, and I'm talking about the true Israelites, not the fake Israelis that are involved in these conflicts over there in the Middle East. But it says, let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous whom the Lord abhorreth. Right? And that's exactly what these Edomites are doing, you know. The king of Babylon, Donald Trump, he's boasting about his heart desire. What he's saying, he's like, if they don't, you know, he's basically threatening for more attacks if they don't come to like an agreement or a treaty, which that's not going to happen. You know, you see, well, I could have played other videos, but these Iranian leaders, they're not having it. They're right now, their mindset, their heart is, their desire is to counterattack Babylon America. That's why they're meeting with Russia, with Vladimir Putin. The leader of Iran, their leaders, they were speaking on it. If you go and do the research, you see that's what they're doing. They're like, hey, we got to go talk to Big Bro and see what's up. So you can see how this thing's picking up. It says, the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. You know, even though the king of Babylon, a.k.a. Donald Trump, President Trump, even though he's got all that pride and that you know, arrogance and thinking he can't be destroyed, thinking that he's, you know, nobody can bring him down. He's deceived, right? We read that in Obadiah. But the Most High is not in all his thoughts, because when he's telling you at the end of his speech, oh, thank God, I think he said, thank God for America, bless America, thank God this, thank God that, bless America this, bless America that. And you have to understand, his God is not the God of the Bible. His God is not Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. The Most High is not in his thoughts. Okay, his God, you have to understand, there's false idols. His God is Baal, which is, you know, basically Satan. And that's when he speaks about God, he's actually talking about Baal, the left-hand side, the idolatry. The Edomites have been, I mean, hey, you 2/3, you heathen, you're all deceived. The elect are not deceived, okay? It tells you in Matthew 24 that the elect are not deceived, or cannot be deceived. Verse 5, it says, his ways are always grievous, thy judgments are far above out of his sight, for all his enemies he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Do you get the point? I mean, these are all characteristics to the T of these Edomites. And, you know, when I read Psalm 10 and 1 through 7, it basically is describing the king of Babylon, Donald Trump, is describing him to a T. Read this again. After you watch this video, go back and read Psalms 10 through 7 and tell me that's not Donald Trump. All right? So, hey, man, we are definitely in a time of repentance, a time of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is visiting the earth. And, you know, the time is short, man. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right? So you Israelites who are of the hopeful elect, hey, it's time to, you know, focus. It's time to put your faith, your trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Because we're at the end. All right? So with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rakah, Kudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge Alakiam, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the elect.